together. IPSA. We're not just a name in a directory. Local minds with national synergy.
Welcome, bienvenue, welcome to the second out of 4 property-related shows that we run weekly. This is IPSA Kind of Magic, or the Independent Personal Search Agents, or the association thereof, of which Hamish is currently a chairman. And a special guest today is Valerie Bennett, a proud member of IPSA, and also a person who has, how should I put this delicately, seen a lot of action in the trenches. Let's put it that way. And more importantly, she's met the enemy and played football with them. Knows very well how it all runs. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Members' Day, which took place a very short while ago. And by all accounts, Hamish, was a roaring success.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And like our title is more than just a Members' Day. And of course, this one was particularly special because on that occasion, we asked Val to join us on the executive board as well. So Val's joined our executive sort of board.
Does it have a funky executive board member title now?
Well, we could really... Yes, I mean, joining the likes of Mahesh,
yes,
who we actually sort of know full well regularly.
Also known as
Heather is also here.
Also
and
known
Jackie,
as
who supports us.
Mahesh.
Yes, the dancing Matesh, who was dancing away on safari, I imagine, as we actually spoke last week. But it was, again, there's several aspects. And I think when we, Val and I particularly, we go back to the earliest of days, when we were out there sort of banging our heads against the wall. And it was just so reassuring to go along to these particular meetings, whether it be the conference or the Members' Day, to actually realise we weren't the only people banging our heads against the wall. There was a number of other people. It was a refreshing thing. And basically, since those early days, many of us have retained that sort of early days sort of friendship. So we've been there a good while. And then, of course, we started picking up just recently, and I've thoroughly enjoyed actually going through. We've got a few more people to pull in now to say, how on earth did you get into working with searches? So Val's sort of been there, and she's actually sort of seen the growth, because what we've actually sort of found now, it's great, of course, to actually sort of get all our members sort of joined together, but we've actually sort of found also that our sponsors have become part of that particular family, because they're joining in, they're supporting us, and they're attending each and every event and projecting, and they're keeping up any new ideas that we have that we can actually sort of put to them. So many of them are joining in and saying, oh, yes, we can do that. So it is certainly much more than just a Members' Day.
Wow. It was, I mean, I had the pleasure of being there as well, because I also, my other guys, as a performer, and I get to meet everybody. Lovely seeing you there, Valerie, albeit briefly. What did you get out of Members' Day this year?
Yeah, I think they're always very interesting, and yet all the sponsors that come along, and you always learn that little bit of information that you didn't know, and they're always happy to tell you what new products, what new developments. People like Kate Faulkner, who is just amazing to listen to and has got an incredible amount of knowledge of the whole housing industry and all her data and statistics, etc. So yeah, there was some very interesting people that came along. I really, really wish that more members would come and attend it, because I think the benefit is there. I mean, I'm going to hark back to the very, very, very first meeting we had 21 years ago, when there was a good turnout, because it was important for everybody, because there was a lot of things going on and we had a lot of battles to fight back then. So people were very interested, and you'd go into a room and there'd be 100 members there, people doing the searches and going out there and having to fight and battle. And I think these days, a lot of companies. I think people think it's a lot easier and it's a lot calmer now. When really there's always things like building up on the horizon. The talk of new home sellers packs is going to be sort of coming into light again now, and that's going to be growing over the time. And we may find the same thing that in 6 or 12 months' time, when that becomes more popular or more, more developed, then suddenly search companies are going to go, oh, how's this going to affect me? What am I going to do? And suddenly become interested again in coming to the meetings to find out things. But I think it might sound quite harsh, but I think the fact that we only meet up once or twice a year is actually these days not the best way. I think there's far more opportunities to have more little Zoom calls every week, every fortnight, where you could pop on for 5 minutes so we could actually know who each other are. Because I think there's a lot of agents there I don't know. I might send work and ask them to do things, but I don't know them. And I think we should be using technology more to keep in touch more as IPSA members.
I actually was thinking, Hamish, the other day that maybe a surgery that we ran, say, twice a month, a Zoom surgery, we could invite everybody to come along. I'm more than happy to help you host that, and just to make sure that, and we could even create little breakout rooms so people can have a chat about what they're finding, or we could set it so that people could jump into their own breakout rooms. These sort of ideas, as Valerie has said, to ensure that there's more cohesiveness among the members.
Well, yes, I mean, so we tried. In fact, strangely, it was pre-lockdown that we did actually sort of try this with individual meetings physically. That was because we didn't have the advantage of this particular style of meeting in those days.
Right.
And it just sort of petered out because somehow or other it didn't quite work. People didn't actually want to get up and go. In fact, in some respects, that would be a great idea. However, it's certainly well worth contemplating, but it's ideas like this that we can actually sort of discuss. And that's a great thing, is having somebody like sort of Val on the exec board, because that's this very subject that would be a great thing next time we have an exec meeting. So we can actually keep that one. But that's quite right. The great thing is, as IPSA members, we are able to keep in touch, if you like, through head office, so to speak, through Heather Poolgleed, and as many of the sort of listeners, certainly the IPSA members, will know that how effective Heather is at sort of responding to the general sort of members' sort of questions. But it does actually sort of think, as Val suggests, an interesting sort of concept, an interesting sort of idea, so we can in fact discuss matters, because things do come up. So it's certainly something going forward. However, in the meantime, what we do have this tremendous opportunity with Members' Day, also with conference. Get yourselves ready for January, folks, because that will be even better. But I think, as Val and I were saying just sort of beforehand, there are different people you get the opportunity to have a chat to that you may not have met before. And you might turn around and think, wow, crikey, that could be really handy in my business that we're operating. And any of the outside of our organization who happen to be sort of listening in, if you think you have any products that would be of use to us to support our solicitor clients, because this is why we're here, to support our solicitor clients. So anything that we can add to make life easier for them is what we want to do. And of course, if material information is going to be the sort of key thing,
right,
and therefore we're going to actually sort of have those buyers packs, it's going to have to go through. It's going to start off at the very beginning with that material information. We need to be looking at examples of that and ways of pulling that together most effectively. Now, we've got some great ideas, great concepts, and it's already being done. We already have members who are actually sort of putting this together, but it's in its infancy to a certain extent. on what we really need to sort of want to sort of capture, because a lot of people are unaware of the fact that the majority of local authority searches that are actually carried out aren't carried out by individuals who actually live locally. And of course, part of what we attempt to do within our podcast is try and let people know this particular sort of aspect, because once people realize the benefits, the gains from getting those searches through local people, they will start understanding the great value of what an IPSA search would actually sort of be if they were going to actually go through an IPSA, if they were going to go through that particular route, rather than some of the other routes which we sometimes use, the corporate route, a corporate provider, a factory provider, because no, we've explained this before. However,
in the words of the song, local knowledge was natural synergy. That's the point, isn't it? And Valerie, do you find that having an intimate knowledge of the local area that you support with your searches helps get the right information, not just all the information?
Of course it does. I mean, I sort of out of the blue had a phone call from a lady last week, absolutely desperate for her search. She'd phoned the council, who said, "Oh yes, we know who's collected this land chart. We know it. My favourite Rossendale, council. We
Right.
know who's collected it. We'll give you her phone number. You can give her a call." So this is the person who's saying, "My solicitor says they haven't got the search." So they got this is a member of the public who's trying to sort it out for themselves because they don't know how to do these things. And why should they really, when they're gonna buy and sell a house maybe once every 10 years? Every 10 years, it's a completely different process because everything's changing so quickly. It changes by the year, never mind 10 years. So why would they need to know what they're supposed to do or what they're supposed to get? Or, I mean, a lot of people, they do their own research, which is good. They do that now. But the general public doesn't know what is really entailed in the buying and selling of a house. They never have done, and I think most of them still don't know. And I believe this is where the people like Kate, who are trying to make kind of like a register or somewhere where the public can go onto a site and can work through a roadmap of everything that should happen, so they know and they're reassured by everything along the way. Because at the minute, they just phone the solicitor up. They say, "No, we haven't got, there's a delay in the searches." It's always the searches that are blamed. Never anything else. It's always a delay in the searches. And quite often, maybe it's true sometimes, but it's not true all the time. Whereas if the public has got something that they've got access to, which does assist them, then they don't randomly have to ring the council up as a resort to try and find out where their search is.
Well, it seems to me that this kind of local synergy, whereby you are in touch with the people who know knowledge correctly, but you've got the experience of knowing how to filter out. And Hamish, is that not a critical part of the IPSA challenge? Filtering out the right information so you've got the right information to make the best decision.
Oh, absolutely. And because if you don't filter that out and we pass that information on directly to a solicitor, the solicitor has to go through all of the information they receive. Otherwise, it's not due diligence. They have to go through all of it, check it all out. And of course, if they've got loads and loads more to do, which some of them do have, it really adds so much extra work for them. I mean, we were speaking sort of earlier that, you see, we've got a great benefit that Land Registry have started actually sort of taking responsibility for land charges. Now, there's benefits from it, but there's sort of some losses as well, because unfortunately, they're not necessarily sort of fully up to date. And Land Registry, in fairness to them, they aren't experienced in land charges. Land charges officers are. In fact, some of those aren't that experienced. Val will have more experience than many of them. But even things like land registry, that information needs to be refined. And if you just go through the normal routes and grab that, you get unrefined information, and you get much more than you really need. Now, one of the things I was actually going to sort of add, and it sort of makes it the conversation that both Val and I were having with one of our guests from last week, and we were speaking about earlier today, is there will be a time when people out there, the general public, can come to the likes of us for their guidance towards what is the best sort of route to do, because we will actually sort of tell them the very, very first thing you ever actually sort of do. This is assuming it's not you're sort of paying for cash and all the rest of it. Well, even paying by cash, but the most important thing to do is to see what finance is available. So the best possible way to go forward is to actually ask your financial advisor, your mortgage broker. That's where to start, not with your solicitor. You start the right way, but this is the great thing, because that openness now, the availability of data, it's getting the right data, and you're quite so right there, Gareth, getting the right data, but also sometimes you don't quite know when you're actually sort of speaking to somebody, is it the right data, is it the wrong data? Well, you always get a direct answer for an IPSA member.
Well, look, I think I'm going to wrap this up for today. Thank you so much, Hamish. This is always, it's always enjoyable, the IPSA channel. And the reason why is we're celebrating something that has actually got a relevance to today. People think with the rise of technology that searches and so on will become more and more a thing, press a button and out it spews. But the truth of the matter is, I think local knowledge has never, ever played a more relevant part than it does now. One size fits all it just doesn't work, given the complexity of the housing market across the country. It's so varying per council, per location. Oh my goodness. And the more I know about it, because remember, ladies and gentlemen, I knew nothing before I started this channel with Hamish. Now I know about 5%, and the more I know, the more I realize there is a lot more to know. But thank you once again, Valerie, for coming here and sharing with us your fountain of knowledge, and of course, Hamish, and to all of you watching, if you are not a member of IPSA and you want to become, please approach Heather Poole-Gleed, or now Valerie Bennett, I guess, as part of the ruling junta, and see if it's suitable for you. It may not be, but it is an amazing organization to be a part of, because, as I've said many times before, it's like the kite mark of searches. You know that if you're going to go to an IPSA member, you will come out with a very focused, detailed on the things you need it to be detailed on, search that will provide you the best means of making the right decision. So keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and in these troubled times, stay hydrated and look after your mental health. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Local skill with national connection. Independent, but never alone. IPSA, where your professional home.